You're listening to the Red Man Podcast.
Welcome back to the Red Man Podcast. I'm Chris Mosley, joined as always by Mr. Kolby Crine. Kolby Crine, how are you today?
I couldn't be better, sir. How are you?
I'm great. I'm just noticing you did wear a red shirt today, and it's got the red logo on it. Did you think that through with a red shirt with the red font of Red Pest Solutions on? You do realize it blends in.
Yeah. So these were error shirts, and
Error
yeah,
shirts?
they were made by accident. So we actually got them for free. And they were given to me to not actually wear, but I wore them today to the podcast since nobody can see me.
Well, now I busted you out, and everybody knows that you wore
Sure
the
did.
red Error shirts.
They're one of a kind. They're limited edition.
Wow, they should have just disposed of them, but whatever. That was the first time I've noticed that all day that you're wearing that shirt with, and you've been out in public with that.
I've got multiple of these, actually. They're just different shades of red.
Okay. Well, please don't ever wear that again in my presence.
You're welcome.
It's going to bother me.
I won't.
All right, today's episode is all about beetles. We're going to start out with our insect profile on the Stag Beetle, and we will eventually get into our control corner segment on the powder post beetle. If you've been in pest control for any length of time, at some point especially if you're down here in the South, in Mississippi, I know we see them all the time, powder post beetles. So, stag beetles. They are native to both Europe and North America. These things are massive. They've got these big, their mandibles is what they are, but I guess one of the reasons why they call them stag beetles is because it almost gives the appearance of antlers a little bit on these things.
Oh, okay.
Would you say that?
I never really thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. It sure does.
It does. If you've ever seen, just obviously this is not a visual podcast, but if you Google stag beetle, you'll see what we're talking about. These things can get up to 3 inches, depending on what species we're talking about. They're black to reddish brown in color, really dark in color. It's kind of an elongated body with a shiny, very hard exoskeleton. The males specifically have those really large, exaggerated sized mandibles that we were talking about that kind of resemble antlers. And they use those things to kind of wrestle potential, like if they're in a battle trying to win a mate with another male, they'll use it to kind of battle. It's kind of similar to what deers do, I guess.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. And I've not looked into this insect a whole lot, but the little bit I have, I believe there's a National Geographic little mini documentary on them. And it's the funniest thing in the world. There's these 2 stag beetles fighting on a limb, probably 100 feet in the air in this forest, and one of them just slings the other one off this tree. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is good TV.
Yeah, they get that leverage. And I watched that video. I know the video you're talking about. One of them is hanging onto that limb for dear life.
It's literally ripping the bark off.
It's literally ripping the bark off as the other beetle is prying him up. And finally, when that bark breaks loose,
he's gone.
He is launched. He must have went 50 yards. That's an exaggeration, but he went a long way.
He went 50 yards down for sure.
For sure. He fell out of it. It was a pretty high tree. So not only are those mandibles or antlers, whatever you want to call them, not only are they used for wrestling, but it's also a display thing for the females. The bigger the antlers, the more attractive, I guess they are for the females. And while we're on the subject of the females, they do not have the exaggerated sized mandibles. Their mandibles are much, much smaller, and they're just much smaller in general as well.
It's nice to see the males in the insect world finally get a win.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of those.
We don't have a lot of those, do we?
We don't. We don't get very many of those at all. They do have wings, but they're really rarely ever seen flying. But they do have wings. They're pretty active mostly at night, and mostly on warm summer nights is when you would most likely see them. As far as the United States goes, about 2/3 of all the stag beetles are in the western United States, not quite as prevalent on the eastern side. We talked about how males can use their mandibles to not only fight over mates, but they'll also use it to fight for territory. The males probably, I guess when they do fly, it's usually when the males are clumsily flying at night to look for females. And I could see them being very clumsy flyers when you're trying to get that much mass off the ground. They don't really look like they're shaped or built for flying at all. Despite their fearsome looks, they are not aggressive, and as far as humans go, it's not like they're going to use those massive mandibles to chomp your finger off or anything like that. They're not really a threat to us.
I feel like this is going to be a trend on a lot of our podcast episodes here. But can I have this as a pet?
I mean, some people have them as pets. You know, that's a pretty common thing in Japan where I didn't realize that until we started researching this a little bit, where people in Japan, you can go in stores and beetles, stag beetles, rhinoceros beetles, they've
Hercules beetles.
All these different large beetles are for sale in pet stores in Japan. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We don't think of them that way here.
So not necessarily on the stag beetle, but other beetles I've studied in the past. There's a huge, huge subculture in Asia, especially in Taiwan, where they actually have organized beetle fights.
Wow.
For money.
That's got to be
It's like
illegal.
dog fighting and chicken fighting in the United States.
Well, that's illegal.
But
in the United States.
I think it's legal over there. I really do. There's documentaries on it you can watch, and it's pretty intriguing because they can put these beetles in a some kind of container, and they'll be just as friendly as they can be, and they get them on these little fighting logs, and they somehow entice them to fight each other, and looks like a good time. I mean, it really does.
It sounds like it would be fun to watch, but I don't want PETA to come after us. I don't know how PETA feels about insects, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I just know chicken fighting, dog fighting, it's illegal here. I wonder if someone started a beetle fighting thing in the United States, how well received it would be here. Probably not great by everyone.
I think if somebody can bet money on it, it would probably take off.
Yeah, until the right person complained, and then it would all fall apart. But anyway, we're not. If you look, Kolby, if you want one as a pet, we'll look into getting you one as a pet.
Well, can you get one so we can fight them?
Sure. Cool. We just we won't tell anyone about it. So what do they eat? They primarily feed on tree sap, rotting fruit, lots of decaying plant matter. When they are larvae, they live inside decaying wood and they feed on rotting wood fiber for several years. They're important, at least with the ecosystem, they're pretty important because they do help with decomposition of fallen trees and things like that in the forest. They do have complete metamorphosis. They go from egg larva to pupa to adult. Eggs are laid in rotting wood or soil near decaying tree roots. We kind of talked about that. The larvae, they're white, and they're these C-shaped grubs with those orange heads, which is pretty similar to a lot of other beetles that are like that. Mm-hmm. And they can live, as we said, 1 to 5 years inside the wood before pupating. The pupal stage occurs in soil or in a chamber of wood, and then the adults eventually emerge in the late spring or summer. And kind of like what we talked about with the fireflies 2 weeks ago, they only live a few weeks to a few months, so they don't have a very long life. The stag beetle doesn't. So
really, that's shocking.
Maybe they wouldn't make really, really good pets if that's all. Maybe some of the other beetle species live longer, but that's not a very long life. Or maybe when they're in captivity, maybe they can live longer in captivity. I don't know.
Typically, in the world of insects, the larger in size an insect is, the shorter its lifespan is. There's various different traits that kind of lend to survivability, and being big is not one of them.
That was great information.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
You're welcome. Got to make sure you click that button at least once an episode.
I try to. I really do try to. So some fun facts about stag beetles. This isn't really something you don't already know, but we talked about the jaws resemble deer antlers. They're very strong for their size. They can lift over 10 times their own weight. That's not really a huge surprise. Now, I didn't notice this earlier. You mentioned this, but it does talk about beetle fighting in parts of Asia. Is that where you said that you'd heard of it happening at?
Taiwan.
Okay. Yeah, parts of Asia. Apparently it does happen. So I don't know. I'm going to look into this pet thing, and I don't know. Maybe I'll get you one for Christmas or something.
Sure. Well, my last comment on this is, here recently, a couple months ago, me and you had a pretty stout argument. Very, very substantiated points on both sides. I'll give it that. But it was 100 men versus a gorilla.
Yeah.
You were on the 100 men side.
Darn right I'm on the men's side.
And I was on the gorilla side, right? So what made me just think about this was you said, the stag beetle can lift 10 times its body weight, which is pretty substantial, right?
Mm-hmm. If you're going to say one man versus 100 stag beetles, we're going to beat them.
No. 100 ants versus a stag beetle. Because ants can lift pretty.
Well, it kind of depends on
time.
the ant, though. I mean, what kind of ant are we talking about?
Argentine ants. 100 Argentines versus a stag beetle.
That's tough because honestly, it does kind of sound like the ant would have the advantage there. But the stag beetle does have some really, really tough armor on his body, but it's not like he can escape either. So I don't know. I'd have to give the edge to the ants on that one, probably.
Yeah, I think just exhaustion over time. I'm going to switch sides here. I'm going to give you credit. I think the masses win on this one.
But not 100 men versus one gorilla.
No.
Kolby.
Humans do not have hive minds like insects do.
I bet you if a gorilla's coming to kill all of them, they would. Now look,
we're going to have to cut this whole section out.
We're not going to cut this out. Some men are going to die. There's no doubt about it. Some men are going to die. But you just said it. Eventually, the gorilla will begin to wear down. There will be some exhaustion involved. And enough men can jump on the gorilla and they'll take it down.
100%. I agree with you in some scenarios, but it depends on the environment. If the gorilla's back to a corner, he's taking everybody out that comes at him. If he's in an open field with 100 people surrounding him with nothing else to use as a impedance, sure, yeah, the people are going to get him.
You know what I think I'm going to send out a survey to our organization, and I'm going to ask them who would win. And we're going to talk about those results.
100 men.
I'm dead serious.
Versus a gorilla.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to send it out because I think you're wrong. And by the way, if you've got your own opinion, you can email us redmanpodcast.
Well, I don't think anybody can be right or wrong until 100 men actually take on a gorilla.
Yeah, but people have an opinion, and I want to hear people's opinions. All right, that's it for stag beetles and gorillas. So we're going to move into control corner now and talk about those freaking powder post beetles.
Look, powder post beetles, they're not fun to deal with on anybody's front, whether you're a homeowner, a business owner, pest control professional, because typically these pests are found in your crawl space. They can be found elsewhere, obviously, in wood furniture and log cabins, various different anything that's made out of wood. Obviously, they can infest. But normally we interact with them in a crawl space, which isn't fun. So let's go back. Obviously, they're a part of the order Coleoptera. They're the beetles, most diverse order in the world. And there's several different types of beetles that sometimes can be mistaken for each other. You have what we're speaking of today, the true powder post beetles, which is in the lictid family. And then you also have false powder post beetles, which are Bostrictidae. Your Bostrictid beetles. And there's some other ones that you deal with, like the Death Watch beetle, Anabidae, and you have old house borers as well, which are pretty neat organisms. But your powder post beetle is going to be at 1/32 to 1/36 roughly exit size hole that they create in the wood. Mm-hmm. And there's a misconception out there that it's the actual beetle itself that's causing this damage. It's not. It is the larva from the beetle as it's going through its life cycle. So they infest various different types of wood. With your lictids, it's typically going to be hardwood, new and old. It doesn't necessarily have to be freshly cut, but all these different species infest different softwoods or hardwoods. Some of them are in the wood before it's cut. Some infested afterwards. We can go on and on and on about all the different species here and how they interact. But ultimately, the powder post beetles get their name because of the talcum powder like frass they produce with their exit holes. And typically, when you're doing an inspection, you see this coming out of the holes in the wood, and that's how you know you have an active infestation going on.
Right. That is the most common thing to look for is the frass. But here's, let me tell you a quick story about this frass thing, because that's what everybody always tells you. Hey, you grab some of this frass, you rub it between your fingers, and if it feels like baby powder and there's no grit or anything in it, well, then you're dealing with powder post beetles. Years and years ago in Meridian, Mississippi, I had a technician call me out to a house and said, hey, this is the strangest thing. I've got the frass here, but I can't find any holes in this man's cabinets. It was like a shed or something he had outside. So I'm like, I said, there has to be holes somewhere. You're just not finding them. He's like, look, I'm telling you, there's piles of frass, but no holes. So I go out there, get my flashlight, and I'm looking everywhere, and I can't find the first hole, but it is definitely piles of frass. Rub it between my fingers. It feels like baby powder.
Right.
I looked and looked and looked, and I kept trying. It took me forever to figure this out, but when I finally figured it out was, and I'm telling this because this might save somebody else some pain trying to figure it out, but he had these wooden cabinets and he had drawers in it. The drawers had no rollers or anything. It was literally wood on wood. Mm-hmm. Every time he'd pull that drawer out and push it back in,
So it was just solid.
it was rubbing.
Yeah.
And over time, it was creating this frass, and it was literally, it was
Just like
it
it.
felt just like it.
Wow.
And I finally figured out well, he had no powder post beetles. It was just wood on wood over years, opening and closing those drawers, and it caused it. So it's not just the frass is the moral of this story. You've got to find the little holes, which are generally about the size of like the tip of a pencil a lot of times.
Yeah, the kind of the lead point of the pencil.
Right.
And, they're very small. They are perfectly round. If you see some that are oval shaped, that's typically your old house borers, things like that. But in my experience dealing with them, it's typically due to a moisture issue in the crawl space. I've never really even encountered them in floors, although I know they can be in the floor wood. Mm-hmm. If you have natural wood flooring, that's not as common as it used to be. Most people are going with vinyl or, tile.
I've definitely seen it, but
things.
it's usually been in a really old house.
Right. Yeah. But when I've dealt with them, it's been in a crawl space that has a moisture issue, typically paired with some fungus elsewhere in the crawl space. So if we were talking about, control methods, how do you prevent this from happening with your home or business? They can't really maintain themselves with a moisture content below 13%, mm-hmm. 12, 13%, somewhere in that range. And obviously you can monitor this with a moisture meter. Right. I recommend anybody in the industry that is worth their salt to have one on their truck. They have various different uses, mm-hmm. Not just for powder post beetles, but for termites and various other things. But test that wood in the crawl space in multiple different locations, see what the moisture content is, and be mindful of what time of the year is that you're inspecting, because just because the moisture content is not where it needs to be for them to survive during the summer, for instance, or during the winter, maybe during a different time of the year it is, based on the weather patterns and things that are being dealt with there.
Right.
Proper drainage of water runoff from weather, storms, is a consideration. But ultimately, if you have an infestation, the best thing you can do is have the wood treated with a borate product, mm-hmm. like a Timbor or Boracare, and that'll provide various other benefits other than just eliminating that infestation. But that's pretty much the most common treatment method for powder post beetles currently.
And I mean, I don't know if you knew this or how many people out there listening know this, but I mean, it doesn't matter what state you're in. This affects the entire country. All 50 states can encounter powder post beetles. And guess what? It's not just the United States. I found a news story out of CBC News out of Saskatchewan, Canada, concerning, it's the town of Edenwold, I think is what it's called, concerning an infestation in a hockey rink. So listen to this.
This rink is the heart of the small Saskatchewan village of Edenwold, but it's been shut down since mid-October. That's after a wood-boring beetle, rare to Saskatchewan, was found at the rink.
All the beams, so it's about every 9 feet, that's how far apart the beams are. And if you look up, you can see some of the extra frass that's coming down.
An entomologist determined that the intruder is a powder post beetle, a coastal insect that likes damp, hard wood, and it's been chewing at parts of the rink for years now. The rink board can only speculate as to how the bug got here in the first place.
Second engineer that we had come in suggested that it could have been anything, maybe old pallet, untreated wood, something like that, and could have just been here for years, 10, 15 years. And just now we're seeing it sort of in plague numbers. Yeah, going up to about 16 feet is the worst damage.
The rink is one of the only public buildings in the town. Jordan Nargang says it's very important not just to Edenwold, but surrounding towns and First Nations as well.
Like right now we're building a daycare in town and they use our facility for their projects and other things. So now with us being out of business, it hurts their fundraising as well.
Nargang says the rink will need to raise money to fix the damage.
So it sounds like the powder post beetles up there in Canada are causing a lot of trouble for this one little town. Not just the hockey rink, but it was affecting other businesses in town as well. That's not something I could typically think of as them being that far north, but apparently,
Yeah.
this is a hockey rink, and they've obviously been eating on it for some time now.
Yeah, you never know. The wood could have came from elsewhere and
Could
it was
have.
already infested. And maybe the whole town was built from a forest somewhere that had a big population. You just don't ever know.
That's very true. So
being more hardwoods, typically you see more hardwoods in that part of the country. So
very interesting. You got anything else on the powder post beetle, or
no,
are we
just
done
with the moisture control aspect of it. Obviously, we said treat with borates, but you can put down a vapor barrier. I recommend that for any crawl space home out there. You need some sort of vapor barrier to prevent the moisture in the soil from evaporating into your subfloor and causing not only this issue, but fungus and mildew and mold and all sorts of other nasty things. In some instances, you may want to get a dehumidifier put in or an Atmox system. That's a pretty cool way to control moisture and increase ventilation on your property. These are all products that we do pretty regularly here at Red. There's, of course, other people out there that do it as well, but great products for home if it's a crawl space. And if you have an active infestation that's not in a crawl space, there's other methods we can use to treat that wood and eliminate that infestation. But not to be alarmed, they're not going to eat your house down overnight, but given enough time and resources, they're able to do some significant damage. So don't rest on it. It needs to be taken care of in a timely manner.
Yeah, if it gets severe enough, you're going to just have to have a fumigation if it gets too terribly bad. But
Or replace the wood.
the key thing is to not let it get to that point. If you start seeing signs of it, as Kolby said, it takes time, but you can't wait forever on it. So that pretty much ends our control segment this week. Okay, now it's time for a Tech Talk segment, and we're going to reach out to a gentleman who has not worked here for very long. I started to say live very long, but that's not. He's lived for a little while. He's in his 20s. But Brant Whittington is his name. He is new to our company. He's not new to the industry. Actually, he worked with me at a previous company. So let's see if we can get Brant on the phone and get his perspective as a new employee at Red.
Hello.
Hello, Brant Whittington. It's Chris Mosley. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Mosley. What you doing?
Well, I'm actually sitting next to Colby Cron. He can hear you. Look, I realize you're newer with the company, Brant. Did you know that we do a podcast?
No, I did not.
You learn something new every day. Well, this will really be a surprise for you. Yes, we do a podcast, and every episode we randomly call a technician when they're out in the field. And guess what?
You're on the podcast.
Is it
That's you today, Brant. So
awesome?
you're on our podcast. So listen, generally we start out by just asking, how's your day going? What all have you gotten into today? Anything interesting happened today?
Not really. I played around a chemical plant for a little while, and then just been talking to people.
I hope you've killed a few bugs today.
I tried.
Well, I hope you're successful for our business, Brant. That hopefully so. How long? You hadn't been here very long. How long have you been at Red?
At Red's, it's been about 3.5 months.
Golly, that's it. 3 months. All right, and I did say this before we called, but you and I go back pretty far because you worked with me at a previous company, so I've known you for quite a while. So you're definitely not new to the industry. You're just kind of new to Red Pest Solutions. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you started out at your previous company, you primarily did termite control, right?
That's right.
And now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you're running a pest route?
Yes, sir.
So what do you have do you have a preference, Brant? What do you like better, killing termites or killing just general pests?
Honestly, I like doing general pests personally because it's more variety
Yeah,
from day to day.
that makes sense. That makes
I can
sense.
talk to a lot more people. On average, I can do more stops of pests and talk to more people than I can termite. So I like pests.
That's awesome. And I think that's the common answer we get from people. But when I was a technician years ago, I was the opposite. I always preferred termite control. And I know I'm in the minority here because I think most technicians prefer pest control. But
I would say I prefer termite control as well.
really,
Yeah.
So you're
me
an
personally.
oddball like
Tell you,
me.
I just like the challenge of it,
Yeah.
But so look, Brant, normally we always ask the technicians that we call, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen out doing pest control? What's something cool you've seen? Do you like it? All that kind of stuff. Funny enough, one of the first conversations I had with Brant after he started working for us was one of his crazy stories of something that he's seen out in the field.
Really?
And I think I hear him chuckling because I think he knows what I'm talking about. Brant, go ahead and tell us that story. He goes in a customer's closet and finds something very alarming.
Oh God, I'm scared.
I'm doing a German roach job, right?
Okay.
And it's nasty up in there. They got clothes on top of dressers, on top of plates of food. So I'm walking around the house, already just in a different place.
Right.
And as I'm walking around, I'm trying my flashlight. I come up in a closet, and I look in the closet, and all of a sudden there's a mummified cat staring at me. And it looks like it's screaming. And I think I may have sent Mosley the pictures when it happened.
I remember this. Yes, I saw the cat. I didn't know he told you this story.
Yes.
Yes.
Mummified cats.
So I scream. I hear the customers chuckle. Nobody says a word to me about it. I don't say a word. I'm still looking in the closet. The cat look down, and the guy has a bunch of snacks just sitting under the cat. So I've just still been kind of trying to figure out, did somebody see this and be like, oh, you know who would like that? Tim. Or did he find and be like, what would be a good place for this? My bedroom.
So I'm trying to remember, Brant. I thought the cat looked like, it wasn't like a taxidermy thing, was it? The cat was just literally decomposed, wasn't it?
It was basically, it looked like it was dehydrated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was bad.
That's mummification.
Yeah. Yeah, it was literally, it was mummified. I do remember this, Brant. You sent pictures. It seems like you maybe sent pictures to all of us in the office.
I did.
And we all got a good chuckle out of it. But yeah, that's crazy. So you never got an explanation for why the mummified cat was just hanging out in the closet.
Honestly, I didn't want one.
That's probably safe. Yeah, you probably didn't want to
I
know
figured
that.
it was better not knowing.
That's crazy. I can honestly say I've came across a lot of crazy stuff. I don't think I've ever come across a mummified animal in someone's.
I think I've
closet.
come across a mummified rat in like a crawl space or an attic or something.
You would
but-
expect to see
Yeah,
it there
yeah.
though. And I've came across dead cats in crawl spaces and things like that, but not just a mummified cat standing up in someone's closet on the shelf.
Right. Well, Brant, congratulations, because now every time I think of Brant Whittington, I think of a mummified cat. So you get
The
that
funniest
award.
part is, I threatened to quit because within 3 months I found 3 different mummified cats.
Oh my gosh.
Brant,
After that happened.
You mean at different places?
Yeah.
Oh,
So one was in an attic, one was in a closet, and one was in a crawl space.
Wow. Okay. Well, again, 2 of those make sense. One of those does not.
It's not.
So that would be the one I'd be concerned about. But yeah, that's kind of weird if you just kept seeing them. Yeah, that's strange. So are you enjoying that? And be honest, you can tell us the truth, and we'll cut it out if you say something we don't like. Are you enjoying your time at Red Pest Solutions?
Yeah, so far, other than the heat, I like it.
And that's everyone.
That's a running trend.
That is everyone's number one complaint is the heat. And unfortunately, we cannot control the heat at Red Pest Solutions. If we could, we'd figure out how to make money off of that. But we can't do anything about the heat. But hey, the good news is we're about to be in September. It won't be long. It'll be fall, and those temperatures they'll start to drop.
It's the best time of the year to do pest control, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the fall. That's my favorite season. So it's just right around the corner. Well, look, we don't want to take a lot of your time. Any parting thoughts before we let Brant Whittington go back to work?
No, I appreciate you joining us today. And
Well, thank
I look
you,
forward
Kolby.
to talking to you soon.
But I was asking Brant.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I thought you said any parting questions. I'm sorry.
Brant, I apologize for that.
Dang, I'm
Any
sorry,
parting words before we let you go, Brant?
Not really. I'm just going to find a therapist to talk to about the mummified cat again now.
Okay.
We brought it back up.
Yeah.
We have a tendency of doing that, don't we?
Yeah,
Dredging up old memories.
We did. We brought up some old memories with Nathan Brown the other day about a near-death experience he had.
And Eli
And we're
last
not-
time about a snake.
Yeah, and Eli Goodwin last time about a snake. And we're not going to tell you about any of those things, Brant, because we'd like for you to go back and listen to the podcast. So you have a good rest of your day. If you need us, you know how to reach us. Be safe out there, and it'll cool down before you know it.
All right. Well, I'll holler at y'all later. Thank y'all so much.
All right. See you, Brant.
Bye, Brant.
Mama, I do remember that. A mummified cat in a closet. Yeah, and that, that's the thing when you get into this industry, this business. That's the thing no one does tell you. You see wild, crazy things, and a lot of things that you see that I can't even talk about on this podcast because I don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah. That being the case, still, that whole time we're talking about that, it gave me an idea. I really think we should have a special segment in one of the coming episodes where me and you both sit down and we jot down privately our top 5, top whatever, and we just kind of go back and forth. Craziest things we've seen or experienced in the pest control industry. I think that would be a pretty
There's been
entertaining.
that would be that's actually a really good idea, Kolby. I'm just trying to think of which ones are clean enough for the podcast.
I think most of mine are pretty clean. I mean, I know where you're going.
I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot of mine are not, but anyway, maybe we'll do that. It is a good idea, or maybe we could just survey people out in the field and just get some and come up with the craziest list we can possibly conjure up.
Absolutely.
So look, we're nearing the end of the show here, and we did this last time, and I'm going to do it again. I'm probably going to do it almost every time. We want to encourage people in the state of Mississippi. If you're not a member of the Mississippi Pest Control Association, you need to be. If you're in this industry, it's extremely important that your company is represented in the Mississippi Pest Control Association. The number one reason for this is because you have a voice, and for that voice to be heard, this association is sort of your megaphone. It's your way to have a voice with the state, and even to some degree on the national level with any concerns regarding our industry and the future of our industry, or any problems that are coming up in our industry. We need you involved. There's probably lots and lots of smart people out there with really good ideas and good opinions of things that we could be doing in this state right now in our pest control industry, and we have no way of knowing because they're not a member of the Mississippi Pest Control Association. It's really important for you to get involved. If you want information on this, we'd be glad to give it to you. We'll make it simple for you. Just email us at the redmanpodcast@redpest.com. We'll put you in touch with whoever we need to get you into the Mississippi Pest Control Association. We have an annual conference it's in the winter, usually in January of every year. You could be a part of that every year. Show up. It's usually a 2-day event, and we go to different parts of the state. And I say we because Kolby and I are involved in the Mississippi Pest Control Association. So please, if you're not involved, please get involved. And again, you can also email us if you have any topics you'd like us to cover, or any questions, suggestions, complaints. If there's anything Kolby does that annoys you, you can email us and let us know.
Any good stories? like mummified cats.
Or that's actually a great idea. If you've got some kind of crazy pest control story, something that's happened to you that you feel like we could share on this podcast, shoot it to us, and we may put an episode together in the future where we can talk about it. So with that, I think this is a good place to end, unless you've got some final thoughts, Kolby.
Nope. I enjoyed talking about these topics today. I think Brant was a good one to speak with, and definitely step up and join the NPCA if you're not already a member.
All right. Couldn't say it better myself. Everyone have a good week. We'll see you next time on the Red Man Podcast.
Call the Red Man.